You know, I think there's something else that's exciting, and what I find exciting is that somebody can start in the hospitality industry as a waiter or a waitress, and they can move themselves up into a given level of management at a very young age, and then they can continue to engage in sort of managerial activities. So in terms of opportunity for leadership, for management, this industry allows folks to enter young and to move relatively quickly through different stages of management. So I think as an employer, and you can probably say more about that, Bruce, but as an employer, I think it really helps people begin their careers.
Indeed, it provides lots of context for people who may be exploring opportunities that they didn't understand existed. And the industry, because of the scope and breadth, provides a lot of opportunities beyond that which maybe people originally thought or think. So by getting into this industry, it's a very broad set of opportunities, to your point, and really you could take it wherever your interests and capabilities will allow.
I wanted to follow up on, Kathy, what you said, and also Bruce, what you said. If we think about development and opportunities growing in the developed areas, and you were correct to point out that, you know, hey, the growth isn't necessarily the same across the globe. And those places with developing nations, think now about the investments that investors and capital owners would have in those countries, which produces jobs and opportunities. And now link that with what governments can do with infrastructure. So governments that invest in airports and roads and so forth create networks, and those travel networks actually can support the investments which are occurring on the, if you will, on the private side. Add to that the combination of 1 + 1 = 4, I am in marketing, of course, 1 + 1 = 4, that really means now that can, in fact, increase the opportunities in those particular locations.
Yeah, you know, you're absolutely right. This whole idea of a tourism cluster, right?
Yeah.
Where you find businesses that are in tourism, but then there's that whole periphery of supportive activities. I mean, it could be educational as well as governmental, but you're absolutely right. Creating infrastructure oftentimes generates multiples for an economy. You know, and historically, hospitality has oftentimes been viewed as a less desirable place to grow an economy, and the emphasis has been more on manufacturing or industrial. But in fact, a lot of emerging environments have fewer scarce resources, and as a result, hospitality and tourism could be the engine of development for an entire community.
You would think that education and it's a course of management, and the ability to have a greater knowledge, or specific, and for that matter, specific knowledge in certain areas, can really improve careers. Do you find that from your own research on the side of HR?
Absolutely.
That there is this link?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The investment that companies make in training and development on many levels, formal, informal, using, you know, sort of their own resources and partnering with other agencies and entities, is a great way of sustaining and creating some attractive qualities for drawing people to the industry, and then obviously developing the talent that's necessary, because you have a lot of people see this as a point of entry into, you know, opportunities for professional growth, and the industry is taking, you know, charge in that regard to make sure that they're supportive and provide those opportunities, not just employment, but helping people grow in the areas that allow them to be successful in a variety of different ways.
I want to build on that a minute. Talk about the opportunities for individuals to grow their careers. There's also opportunities for investors to start small and grow a business. And this industry is unique in that regard as well, in terms of having lots of opportunities for people to enter with a fairly low cost of entry and be successful and use that success to grow their businesses as well.
Yeah, you know, I think that's a really interesting point, because there's certain sub-industries within hospitality that have very low barriers to entry. They don't require a lot of capital investment. They're driven on a set of sort of talents that an owner or an entrepreneur can begin with, whether it's a restaurant concept, for example, which is one of those that I think is a lot easier for individuals to enter as an entrepreneur. But there are a variety of other businesses, if we think about them in the industry, for example, the cruise business, where the capital investment is huge. And as a result of that, you see that there's probably 2 or 3 major players with huge market share, because the barriers to entry for that subsegment of the industry is a lot higher. So back to the notion of complexity, right? Some businesses create great opportunities for entrepreneurship, and certainly in the online space and in the intermediary space, those suppliers that we've been talking about, there's great growth opportunities. Other businesses are relatively large and consolidated. And in fact, we are seeing a fair amount of consolidation in several parts of the industry.